Thank you everyone for being here today. I'd like to share a few things about my dad. Everyone who knew my dad knew he was a great storyteller. He loved nothing more than holding court with a captive audience, regaling us with tales from work at Grandpa's gas station, hanging with the Third Avenue crew, his karate escapades with Pepe, or his time working at Falcon Security. And don't even get him started on his car stories. He had a treasure trove of them. He had a gift for storytelling that could light up a room, drawing laughter and wonder in equal measure. He was, without a doubt, the lord of the living room, a natural-born entertainer who made everyday moments unforgettable. But beyond the stories and the laughs, he was incredibly dependable, more dependable than the U.S. Postal Service. He commuted to and from Brooklyn 6 days a week through rain, sleet, snow, you name it. In fact, the month before I was born, the Northeast experienced the blizzard of '78, one of the worst storms of the century, with snow reaching 2 feet in parts of the borough. Still, Dad made it home to Mom, who was very pregnant with me. He ditched the car and tackled the rest on foot. He even made it home after the 9/11 terror attacks when so much of the city was shut down. Every Monday through Saturday, he left before sunrise, heading to work at 5 a.m., and somehow still found a way to be fully present at home. It's no surprise he knew every possible way in and out of Brooklyn. That might be because he'd been driving since he was 13 years old. Sound crazy? Not really. He had a full mustache at that age, too. What stands out most, though, is that after those long days, getting home most nights after 7 or even 7:30, he didn't just pass out. He'd race the fading sunlight to mow the lawn, test the pool water, run the pool vacuum, or fix something around the house. As an adult who works full-time with no commute, I don't know how he did half the things he did. I remember him always tinkering with the car, always helping, always driving someone somewhere. It's no wonder his heart grew tired. He gave everything he had to the people he loved, never once expecting anything in return. Our neighbor church said it best. Dad was the definition of the best neighbor. Even after long, exhausting shifts at work, he would come home and still cross the street to help her carrying groceries. Always without hesitation, always with a kind word and a smile. She said they shared many chats on the front porch, just talking about life. I recently connected with our Brooklyn neighbors, Amy and Kristen, who share similar stories. It warmed my heart because it's exactly how I remember him, endlessly generous with his time and his heart. My dad loved cars, not in a flashy way, but in that old school hands-on muscle car way. He had story after story about the cars he worked on, drove, and admired. For years, we spent Easter at the Jacob Javits Center for the car show. It was a tradition walking the showroom floor together, taking in the newest models, which I loved, and the restored classics, which he loved. It was something we both looked forward to. I got to see him in his element, smiling, pointing things out, and showing what he knew, and loving every minute of it. As a father, he was very hands-on and attentive. I remember him flickering my lights to wake me up at 5 a.m. for high school. He always handed me a few bucks for lunch, which I'd half spent on food and half saved to buy clothes at the mall. I think he knew, and he let me do it anyway. That was the kind of quiet generosity he had, the kind that made you feel seen without saying a word. He would have given me his last dollar if I asked for it, and I'm sure there were days when he did. He just went without, so I didn't have to. And he could fix anything. He was a true MacGyver, the type that could make something work with zip ties, a rubber band, maybe even a light switch and a spoon if he had to. He was endlessly clever and resourceful, and our home was held together just as much by his solutions as it was by his steady love. I spent so much time in the car with him, especially on trips to Brooklyn during summer breaks or days off. My cousins Tammy and Melly did too. On the road, he was in his element, telling jokes, singing along to the radio, making time fly by. One of his signature jokes, which I had forgotten until Tammy reminded me, was when he'd spot a no-shoulder sign. He let one shoulder droop and tilt his head like he was losing his balance. Every single time. It still makes us laugh. And who forget my 8th grade graduation, my friend Akima sang From a Distance by Beth Midler, and Dad recorded the whole thing, but every time the chorus hit From a Distance, Dad zoomed the camcorder out. We didn't catch it until we watched it much later, and we laughed so hard. That was him, finding humor and lightness in every moment, even the big ones. His love showed in small, meaningful ways too, like stopping for hot cocoa on the way to Brooklyn, or even at work if my car was on the fritz, or I had a broken ankle. He didn't care that the coffee was terrible in those places. He just wanted me to have what I liked. That's who he was. And when I had car trouble, he swooped in to save me every single time, no matter how far, no matter how late. Even when he was at Care One, that same spirit never left him. Almost every time I visited, a nurse, a therapist, or a staff member would pull me aside just to tell me something kind or funny he said that made him smile. One time, he told the nurse he felt like Bill Parmesan, and without missing a beat, he added, "So I'm treating the whole staff to dinner tonight." That was my dad. Thoughtful, charming, and always ready to make someone's day a little brighter, no matter what he was going through. Growing up, I struggled with anxiety and was incredibly shy. I second-guessed everything and often felt overwhelmed by the world. My dad never judged me for it. He never made me feel like I had to be different to earn his love. He was patient in a way not everyone knew how to be. He gave me space when I needed it, trusted me with my choices, and never overwhelmed me with criticism. Looking back, I think it's because we were more alike than I realized. We both carried things quietly, felt things deeply, and didn't always know how to say what we meant, but we understood each other. His love was never loud or demanding. It was gentle, steady, and constant. And in the moments when I didn't think I could handle something, I would picture a smile, the soft, reassuring smile that calmed the chaos in my mind and made me believe I could do hard things. He was my quiet strength, and I will miss him with all of mine. I have the best memories of practicing Taekwondo with my dad and him sharing his love of old Kung Fu flicks, especially one starring Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. We probably watched Enter the Dragon and Return of the Dragon 100 times, without exaggeration. But our favorite was his move, The Last Dragon. In fact, whenever we watched it, and we watched it often, he would always pause at the same part when Shonuff says, "Get down and kiss my Converse," and we would laugh every single time. Those are the moments I'll hold closest, the quiet nights, the belly laughs, and the unspoken connection we shared through it all. Of course he has quirks. One of the most legendary was his irrational fear of heights. Even a slight elevation could send him into a panic mode, which is why it still baffles me that once he climbed the ladder and fixed the roof and had to be rescued by the fire department when he froze off the top. Or the time at Disney when we were on the People Mover and he became convinced it was going to launch into Space Mountain. He tried to escape the ride midway through. They had to stop the whole thing just to get him back in the car safely. At that time it was chaotic. Now it's just one of my favorite typical dad stories. That same trip, we convinced him to ride the log flume with us, just so we could get a photo on the drop. He protested, but he did it. We laughed and screamed and then ran to see our photo, but it wasn't there. They missed our flume, so we did it again, and still no picture. That's right, we rode that ride 3 times, and 3 misses. He was terrified of heights, and he literally tried to escape a ride that week, but he still got on that film 3 times for us. I would give anything for just one of those photos. To see him on that drop, doing something that scared him, just because we asked. He always joked he'd break the camera, and maybe that's why we never showed up. But to me, he was the strongest, bravest man in the world. And in those moments, he showed us just how much he loved us. No photo needed. In 2021, Dad faced one of his toughest battles when he suffered a debilitating stroke. It came without warning and left him with a deep coma. For months, we lived in uncertainty and fear. It was the hardest thing I'd ever witnessed. Seeing that strong, lively man I love so much, sitting still and silent. But if there's one thing I knew about Joe Saporita, it's that he never gave up without a fight. After many painful weeks, he opened his eyes and it felt like nothing short of a miracle. But the fight had only just begun. You see, he learned how to walk, how to talk, all the basics we take for granted. I remember those early days of recovery, how even standing up looked dizzy, how trying to speak was slow and frustrating. It broke my heart, but it was also awe-inspiring. Even on the hardest day, he flashed me a look of determination. He tackled rehab like a martial arts hero, almost like Bruce Lee against impossible odds. That was my dad, still standing, still fighting, and still moving forward. I cherish the quiet afternoons we spent at rehab watching Blue Bloods. Him asking about the twins or how Mark was doing in college. I'm grateful for the incredible care he received there, the support of his friend Joy, and everyone at Care One who showed up for him. Now that he's gone, the silence he leaves behind is profound. I still listen for his hearty laugh or drive past his house, hoping to see his old people in the driveway. I miss him more than words can say, but even in our sorrow, his presence is everywhere. In the stories we retell, in the lessons he taught, and in the little things, like always bringing something when you visit, and if you can, bring a Junior's cheesecake. And my dad, who couldn't drive anymore and walk with a walker, still managed to bring me one this past Thanksgiving, because that's who he was. God bless his heart. I feel his influence when I work with my hands, when I make chicken cutlets the way he liked, or when I crack a funny joke just to make someone smile, the way he used to make me smile. His legacy lives on in our family, our friends, and the countless acts of kindness he gave, freely without ever expecting anything in return. My dad loved deeply and gave freely. He poured his heart into everything he did. It's hard to imagine